Mayuresh, what's your view on the stock?
Afternoon, Nigel. Might be a little bit biased. Was there for a long time. But I think the kind of development that Angel One has been doing over the past few years has been phenomenal and exponential both. Phenomenal in the sense of both the digital ecosystem that they seem to have cracked as far as the retail clientele is concerned. And again, on the execution parameters itself, I think it's been a very smooth journey in terms of the number of clients that they have been adding over the past few months. And the pace of clients has continued at a very steady run rate. Having said that, as Vamachi explained, I think the kind of fundraise that you're probably looking at is expected to be put in the right direction. There is a super app which is expected to come up. Obviously, I think the fintech part that the management is probably looking at is also looking very, very lucrative at this juncture. And assuming the expectations in terms of this capital put to good use, I think the return on invested capital for the raise that they have and the kind of deployment that can happen over the next few quarters can be substantial within the ecosystem itself. So I think the numbers are doing the talking for angel broking. Remain optimistic on this stock. Anybody holding should continue.
What's your sense on Nuvama, and also what are the valuation metrics and benchmarks that should be applied to these kind of stocks after this humongous rally?
Afternoon, Surbi. So I think if you go to the Nuvama site or any wealth manager site, I think the kind of dynamics that have been put forth in terms of the sheer potential over the next few years, I think we're all optimistic on the India story. But I think the kind of HNIs which will come up over the next few years and the kind of wealth management modules that will be required by these HNIs, super HNIs as well. And the category shift that we're also seeing, the higher middle class individuals moving into the net worth, higher net worth category as well. I think that paradigm shift is going to be a given over the next few years. So I think you will need experienced wealth managers to probably take care in terms of your asset allocation, having appropriate entries and exit across asset classes as well. Having said that, I think if you probably look at numbers, the kind of AUM growth that you probably are expected to see, extrapolate those numbers going forward in the next 2 to 3 years. There can be an exponential jump on that count as well. And surely going by all these metrics as well, you probably can assume that the kind of margin or the bottom line growth that can come through within this ecosystem that we are now speaking about can really, really do well. So I think this entire ecosystem, whether you're talking about exchanges, intermediaries like brokers, wealth managers, I think the India story continues to grow at a very healthy and good pace over the next few years. These guys will go exponentially as well. Maybe premium in terms of valuations, considering how the performance might have been in the last 4 to 5 years. But if you look ahead in the next 4 to 5 years, the growth can be exponential. And therefore, looking forward to FY25, FY26 numbers, I think greater numbers can be expected in terms of the bottom line growth.
Any ideas, anything that you've perhaps picked up in the recent broader market correction?
Yes, so I think what we like at MarketSmith is these real estate ancillary proxy plays. And to that extent, Pidilite is something that we are liking at MarketSmith India. Obviously, if you go by the numbers, Surbi, in the previous quarter, the volume growth was pretty decent enough at around 10% Standalone margins came in at around 25% as well. Now, a large part of the expectations in terms of the adherence and sealants market, specifically for the end retail consumer use, is around 55-58%. You've got construction paints and chemicals, which contributes 20% to the top line, and industrial sealants, which is 6%. Now, all these three segments, if you probably look at the real estate cycle, the 6-7 year cycle that gets played out, we're in the 3rd or the 4th year. The first couple of years typically is where the developers take a lion's share in terms of price action. After the 3rd, 4th year, as more flats are delivered, as more inventory comes into the system, the home refurbishment theme starts coming through for the real estate cycle. And therefore, this entire expectation in terms of better volume growth expected for the real estate ancillary players is something that we are looking at. Pidilite, in our opinion, can continue to execute better in terms of volumes, top line growth, margin performance, and therefore a relatively better bottom line growth as well. There is input cost moderation that has taken place within the industry itself and is expected to remain at benign levels, which probably gives us a very good estimate that margins might even improve going forward as operating leverage starts playing in. So Pidilite, any pullback on a stock like Greenlam Laminates, where again, I think the gross margin expansion has been reasonable. EBITDA margins have stabilized. management sounds optimistic in terms of realization growth, both for the laminate part of the business and the plywood part of the business. MDF, particle boards, the new BIS regulations and certifications start kicking in. And therefore, from Q1, the expectation is that volume and value growth should also come in for these two business segments, which is MDF and particle board. So Pidilite, something like a Greenland laminate, something like this.
Appreciate you joining in, Mayuresh. Thanks a lot for your view and those stock ideas as well that you shared for our viewers.